Hey folks, for today's lesson, we're looking at the GCF and the lowest common, well, darn it, I just spoiled the surprise. The GCF and the LCM, which stand for, you already know now, the greatest common factor and the least, sorry, or lowest common multiple. And you've seen these terms before in probably in middle school or maybe even before that, I don't know. In any case, we're just going to do a really quick review here, taking two numbers as an example. Okay, so take for example the numbers 18 and 24. The greatest common factor of 18 and 24 is the factor of the factor that is common to both, but the largest factor. So in other words, if you list out all the factors of 18 and 24, pick the largest one. So for 18, for example, it's 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. In other words, 1 times 18 is 18. Right, they go together in pairs like that. 2 times 9 is 18, and 3 times 6 is 18. For 24, you can list them up in pairs as well, by the way. You could do like 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and that's all of them. And just go through and find the largest one. And then obviously it's going to be 6. 6 is the largest factor that's common to both. And for lowest common multiple, the greatest common factor is always smaller or the same size as or smaller than these numbers. The lowest common multiple is always going to be bigger. So for example, multiples of 18 are 18 and then 36, and then you keep adding 18 like so. Same thing with 24, you get 24, 48, etc. And you keep going until you find one that's common to both. And obviously it's 72 is the lowest common multiple. Okay, so just a little bit of a difference there, and I think everybody's fairly familiar with that. If not, there's a nice little review for you. There are various methods of finding the GCF or the LCM. We'll kind of explore a couple of those really quickly with a different example. Okay, say I give you these two numbers here. Crazy, right? Okay, well, this could be made a little bit simpler if we write these in a different form. And I wouldn't expect you to be able to do this, but I'm just trying to prove a point here. If you look at it in terms of as a power of 6, then these can be written as 6 to the power of 3 and 6 to the power of 5. Okay, in other words, this is 6 times 6 times 6 for 216, and then 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 for 7,776. That's the bell. Anyways, so to find the greatest common factor, it's the number that is common, the factors that are common to both. Well, I have 3 6's over here. I have 5 over here, so 3 of them are common to both. Both numbers have 3 6's as factors. In other words, 216 is the greatest common factor. Okay? And if you're to do lowest common multiple, that'd be something different, but I'm just going to show you how to do greatest common factor there. And the reason why I wanted to show you that is just to, because that works for variables as well. Okay, so this looks a little scary to start, but if you just kind of break it up into the coefficients and the variables, you can sort of see how we're going to be able to figure this out here. So just trying to find greatest common factor. That's all we're looking for here. Okay, greatest common factor. Okay, just start out by writing out all the factors of the coefficient to start. Okay, and there they are there. And then for the variables, just write out the variables that are present. Now you can do it the long way or the short way. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. For example, I can just say that the factors here are x and y squared. Y is also a factor because this is y squared is y times y. I also put it as y squared. Okay, and do the same thing over here. This is x and y. Those are my factors. So for the greatest common factor, I first of all recognize, okay, well 7 is the highest factor listed on both sides. So part of my GCF, okay, is going to be 7. And then I also have an x common to both sides, so that's going to be common there. And then I have a y squared and a y. And just like in the previous example where I had 6 to the power of 3 and 6 to the power of 5, 6 to the power of 3 was my common factor. Here then, y is my common factor, because y is common to both, because this is the same as saying y times y. Right? So there's at least one y on both sides. So I would say the greatest common factor is xy. Okay, so in the next video then, I'll have you try a couple and then show you a really cool, aka nerdy method to find the GCF for numbers. One sec.